Welcome back, everybody, to another week of Sunday School here at the Lighthouse Church of the Nazarene in Moravia, Iowa, where we're going through the book of Esther. This week, we're in Esther chapter 3. So, what's going on in the book of Esther? The book of Esther is a glimpse into the life of the Jews who remained in Babylon after the 70-year exile and did not go with Zerubbabel to rebuild the second temple. The time span here is right around 480 BC. Well, in Esther chapter 1, we saw King Ahasuerus, also known as King Xerxes, call for his queen, his wife Vashti, to come and show her beauty off to everybody. But what did she say? She said, nope, not going to do it. So King Ahasuerus banished Queen Vashti, and then he needed to replace her. So what did he do? He had a Miss Persia contest where he had all the beautiful young women come to him, and he picked out the one that he wanted to be queen. And who won the contest? Well, it was Esther. So last week when we left off in Esther chapter 2, Mordecai, who was Esther's cousin, who raised Esther up, had just foiled a plot of two people who were going to kill the king. So Mordecai saved the king's life, but he has not been rewarded yet. Notice I said yet, because he will be rewarded later on in the book of Esther here. But there is a lesson to be learned here. Whenever we try to do good, whenever we try to live a righteous life, we always want to be rewarded right away. But we aren't always rewarded right away. But we will be. Remember, Jesus said, great is your reward in heaven. So even when we live for the Lord and we feel like, Lord, I'm struggling right now and I don't see any fruits of my labor, our reward is in heaven. Remember, Jesus said, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moss and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourself treasures in heaven where moss and rust do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. We're told to lay up treasures in heaven. Solomon said in the book of Ecclesiastes, it will be well with those who fear God. Because remember, I believe it's in the book of Job. Job says, about God, does he not see all my ways and count all my steps? God sees everything. God knows everything. Our reward is in heaven. We just have to seek first the kingdom of God. So, Esther chapter 3. Mordecai just saved the king's life. He hasn't been rewarded yet. He will be. That's what's going on right now. Esther chapter 3, verse 1. After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes who were with him. All right, we got to stop right here. Haman the Agagite. Who is this guy? Well, he's a scoundrel, and somehow he worked his way up, promoted, and he's second in command right under King Ahasuerus. So, notice he's Haman the Agagite. Agag, this means he was a descendant of King Agag, who was king of the Amalekites, who King Saul was told to eradicate. You find that in 1 Samuel chapter 15. God told through the prophet Samuel, Saul, go and completely wipe out the Amalekites. So, who were the Amalekites? Well, first off, you find it in the book of Genesis. The Amalekites were the grandson. Amalek was a grandson of Esau. You find that in Genesis 36:12. So Amalek was a grandson of Esau, but the Amalekites were the Israelites' enemies. They were always attacking them. We find out, when they were leaving Egypt, the Amalekites actually attacked them from the rear and started attacking the old people and the younger people that were drawing up the last. So this Haman is the descendant of the guy that King Saul was told to eradicate, to completely get rid of. So if King Saul had done his job and had done what God had told him to do, this Haman wouldn't even exist and we wouldn't even have this problem right now. But there's also something here, and it's called biblical typology, where Amalek, the one that King Saul was completely told to get rid of, is what's considered a picture of the flesh, the old man, the sinful nature of man. God told the Israelites, it's in Exodus chapter 17, I believe, that you will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Just like us and our sinful nature, from generation to generation, we will be at war with the old man. But just like Amalek, whose King Saul was told to completely get rid of, we also have to completely eradicate the sinful nature, the old flesh. The Apostle Paul says, Galatians chapter 5, those who are Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. In Romans chapter 8, it says, if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you shall live. So, we have to ask ourselves, is there something in which God has said that has to go? You need to get rid of that. That's the old nature, the old flesh. Amalek is a picture of the old man who we have to completely get rid of. So, Haman the Agagite, descendant of the Amalekites, this guy shouldn't even be alive. Verse 2. And the king's servants who were within the king's gates bowed and paid homage to Haman, for so the king had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage. So why would Mordecai not bow to this Haman? Haman was commanding everybody, you must bow down to me. Mordecai says, nope, not going to do it. So why wouldn't Mordecai bow? Well, it must not be just about bowing and paying respect, because we see other people in the Bible bowing down. Genesis, in the book of Genesis, Abraham bowed down to the sons of Heth after they gave him place to bury Sarah. David, King David, he bowed down before Saul to pay him respect. So it could be that Mordecai just knew Haman was evil. It's like, I'm not even going to pay you any respect. I'm not bowing down to you at all. Or there could be more to this here where maybe Haman was actually requiring people to bow down and worship him as a god. I could definitely see that happening too. And Mordecai's like, nope, I'm not going to do that. In Daniel chapter 3, you remember when Nebuchadnezzar made the huge statue of gold, and the three Jewish boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, are like, we're not going to bow down to that. No matter what happens to us, we are not going to bow down to that. Mordecai's taking the same stand right here. Think about the consequences of Mordecai's decision. Do you remember when we left off in chapter 2, how the two people that were planning to kill the king, how it said that they hanged him on the gallows, a sharp spear, human shish kebabs? I'm sure Mordecai's looking at that and knows that that could happen to me if I take the stand like this. But, we have to remember, it's in Acts chapter 5 where the disciples are like, you know what? We have to obey God and not man. Mordecai was going to have consequences for his decisions right here. So then the king's servants, verse 3, who were within the king's gates, said to Mordecai, why do you transgress the king's command? Verse 4, now it happened when they spoke to him daily that he would not listen to them, that they told it to Haman to see whether Mordecai's words would stand. For Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. These people are the pot stirrers right here. They're like, Mordecai's not bowing. Let's make sure Haman knows that Mordecai's not bowing and that Mordecai's a Jew. Verse 5, when Haman saw that Mordecai did not bow or pay him homage, Haman was filled with wrath. There's another lesson right here where it says Haman was filled with wrath. You can tell a lot about a man's character by what bothers them. Little people get offended by little things. And that's what Haman is right here. Verse 6, but he disdained to lay his hands on Mordecai alone, for they had told him of the people of Mordecai. Instead, Haman sought to destroy all the Jews who were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, the people of Mordecai. You can tell a lot about a person by what they do when they get authority. What people do with their authority is a true test of their character. Abraham Lincoln said nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you really want to test a man's character, give him some power. So Haman, instead of just being mad at Mordecai, he now hates all the Jews, all because of what Mordecai is doing right here. Verse 7, in the first month, which is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast Pur. Pur is the Persian word for lot, rolling the dice. That is the lot. Before Haman, to determine the day and the month until it fell on the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. What they're doing right now is they're casting lots, dice, to see when they should kill mass extermination of all the Jews. And you notice that it fell on the 12th month. So they're casting lots to find out when they should kill the Jews, and it's going to be a whole month from now. So Haman now has a whole year to plan this thing, but the Jews also now have a whole year to make a plan to see what they're going to do about this. Verse 8, then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there's a certain people scattered and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from all other peoples, and they do not keep the king's laws. Therefore, it is not fitting for the king to let them remain. Haman's making his case before the king like, there's just a certain group of people here, and they don't follow your laws. You shouldn't even let them live. Verse 9, if it pleases the king, let a decree be written that they be destroyed, And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who do the work to bring into the king's treasury. This 10,000 talents, this is a huge sum of money. If you're following along and have a study Bible, I'd be interested to see how much it says it is right here. But the 10,000 talents, this is 2/3, according to Herodotus, 2/3 of the whole yearly annual income of the Persian Empire. So where's he going to get all this money? Well, he's going to get it from the Jews who he's about to kill and then plunder all their goods and businesses and give it all to the king, all to do this. How many times have we seen Satan try to eliminate the Jews? We saw it right off the bat in the book of Exodus. Pharaoh's like, cast all the baby boys right into the river. Let's kill them all right there. Right here with Haman. He's wanting to do a mass extermination of them. In the book of Matthew, King Herod, when he found out that he'd been deceived by the wise men, we have something called the massacre of the innocents, where he's like, you know what? Kill all the baby boys 2 years of age and under that were born in that region of Bethlehem. In fact, over the last 1,700 years, the Jews have been expelled from over 80 different countries. We see a lot of this anti-Semitism, hatred of the Jews. Why do people hate the Jews? Because the world hates God. And that's a problem. The Jews are God's chosen people. They were his firstborn. It says it right in the Bible in Deuteronomy chapter 14. The Lord has chosen you to be a people for himself. And it was out of these people that the Messiah, the Savior of the world, Jesus Christ, came into the world. So the Jews are God's chosen people. The Bible says that they were supposed to be a kingdom of priests, and a holy people chosen unto the Lord. So that's why there is all this anti-Semitism. So King Ahasuerus, he doesn't even question the Haman. He's like, okay, yeah, whatever seems good to you. So verse 10. So the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. And the king said to Haman, the money and the people are given to you to do with them as seems good to you. It appears the king doesn't even ask any questions. What's he doing here? He must be sidelined with some other business. I don't know. Verse 12. Then the king's scribes were called on the 13th day of the first month, and a decree was written according to all that Haman commanded. To the king's satraps, to the governors who were over each province, to the officials of all people, to every province according to its script, and to every people in their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus it was written and sealed with the king's signet ring. Verse 13, and the letters were sent by couriers into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate all the Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to plunder their possessions. So they weren't even keeping it a secret. It was now posted in public what is going to happen a year from now. All the Jews are going to be killed, from women to children, every one of them, and their goods are going to be plundered. Verse 14, and a copy of the document was to be issued as law in every province, being published for all people, that they should be ready for that day. Can you imagine the outcry that everybody would have had? Not just the Jews, but the people that were friends with their neighbors who loved these people. Verse 15, the couriers went out, hastened by the king's command, and the decree was proclaimed in Shushan the citadel. So the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was perplexed. So Haman was the type of man that could order the mass extermination of 1 million people and then just sit down and celebrate with the king. Notice there at the end of verse 15, the king and Haman just sat down to drink. The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes that one sinner can destroy much good. All of this is coming to pass just because of the insecurity of one sinner, the pride and wickedness of one man. But also, let's think about Mordecai real quick. This all came about because Mordecai wouldn't bow to Haman. And now it's posted that you guys are all going to be killed. How many people do you think were upset and blaming Haman for this, or blaming Mordecai for this entire situation? Said, couldn't you just have bowed down to him? But Mordecai took a stand and said, nope, I'm not going to do it. Jesus said, I did not come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a mother-in-law against her daughter, and a man's enemies will be those of his own household. Jesus said, there will be division because of me. We're going to see a situation like this. The book of Revelation tells us where you're either going to have to take the mark of the beast if you want to be part of the world economic system and be able to pay your property taxes, buy goods, live in a house, or you're going to have to reject that and be an outcast and try to survive on your own. And there will be people who say, like, just do it. You got to provide for your family. But there will be people that say, nope, I'm taking a stand and I'm following Jesus. It's basically the same thing right here. So, what's the main point of all this? God was in control the whole time. Psalm 2:4 says, He who sits in the heavens shall laugh. God is always in control. God is not wringing his hands in worry, going, oh no, what can I do? So, we're going to finish out here. That's the end of Esther chapter 3. The decree has been made. All the Jews are going to be killed 12 months from now. Hope you join me next week. We'll keep seeing what happens. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And I'll see you the same time, same place next week. Bye.